quarterback for Friday?
Starting quarterback is the same one that we've had. Riley's a little bit beat up still. Might take to the end of the week before we know for sure if he can play or not, but nothing's changed in my mind.
Can you tell us what his injury situation is?
He's got a sore back. Took a hard hit in the Weber State game.
Is he, before the game, taking anything to kind of get him through games, or is he? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's really, he's tougher than any of us, and so medical personnel work on him every day, all week to get him to where he can play, and it's hard for him to make it through. But I believe in him, and I'd like him to be our quarterback, and so if he's close to being able to go, we'll play him. If he can't go, then he won't play. But that's been similar the past couple weeks.
The mistakes he made in the Boise game, can those be attributed to that pain and that sore back?
I'm not sure it all can be. They probably are attributed somewhat to it, but I don't know what percentage we could assign to it. After the second one, it was clear to me that it was kind of beyond what he could even handle, and so that's when we made a change.
Is he his own worst enemy in that regard when he is trying to fight through everything?
I think it just puts more responsibility on myself and Coach Dolman, knowing that he'll go until he can't hardly stand up, and so we just have to know that and then help him make that decision.
Maybe the only thing the defense hasn't done is force a turnover. Has that been much of a disappointment, or?
So we actually emphasized it today, and so I think we need to take the ball away more.
Is Taysom getting any extra reps in practice if Riley's not able to go?
Sure. Yeah. Both quarterbacks, both Taysom and James will, as Riley is limited or can't go, then obviously those reps go to them.
Talk about Taysom, just a little bit about his style and what he brings to this team.
Really, the reason that Taysom is kind of getting the majority of the snaps is it allows us to train, because he and Riley are similar in style, so it allows us to keep the game plan alive for Riley, and if he can't, then it's not that big a jump to get to Taysom, and so really by style, that's how it's working.
The offensive line problems, do you chalk that up to growing pains, or is there execution problems?
I would say both. I don't think they're executing cleanly, and we expect more from them.
Can part of it be attributed to their weight loss in the offseason?
Well, I think they play better because of that, and I think they're able to play longer, harder, which I have seen, but they're not playing cleaner yet. And I would attribute a couple of the defenses they played. They did a nice job against us.
So do you think a healthy quarterback would have given you a better chance to win the last two games than playing Riley banged up?
I don't, or I would have played someone else.
With Ethan going down, what's the plan?
Ziggy Ansah takes his spot.
And Bronson backs up Ziggy?
Yeah, and Remington Peck, those are our two backup defensive ends now.
Talk about facing Norm Chow and just what kind of problems it poses.
I'm not sure what kind of problems it poses, other than he's an experienced and well thought of offensive coordinator, and so he has a good plan week in and week out, a good system, a good style, and so I'm sure he'll have a nice plan versus us.
You guys had your worst passing day, yardage-wise, since you've been the head coach in the Boise game. What do you think is ultimately the cause of what the end result was?
Usually when there's a day that poor, it's multifaceted. Protection certainly is an issue. Receivers not getting open is certainly an issue, and then maybe a quarterback being off that day is. So anytime you end up with a number that maybe is the lowest in 7 or 8 years, then it can't just be one thing. It's usually multiple things.
As you went about the community this weekend, what was the consensus on your going for two decision?
No one mentioned it, to be honest. I was working the door at the temple dedication, and I was a greeter, so maybe you'd think that would be a great opportunity, but no one mentioned a thing about it. Our team hasn't, our coaches haven't, my wife hasn't, my relatives, friends haven't, so you guys are the first.
Do you think is that a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing, but I would do it again in a second.
There was some controversy again with Chow and the whole thing with the released player. Can you talk about you mentioned that you don't have to recruit players, and can you just kind of reiterate what you said then and
Sure.
how that affects?
Yeah, it was just a unique situation that a young man went on his mission, and as many do, come back and then want to be at BYU for all kinds of reasons. Faith is certainly part of it. Maybe finding someone to marry is part of it, and possibly really good football is part of it. We don't recruit when players are on their missions. We won't recruit when they're on their missions, and when players want to transfer, the first thing that's usually signaled is foul play, but we didn't, and haven't violated any rules, nor will we in the future. And it's just unfortunate that anyone might think that we did.